Welcome to another episode of Let's Ask Paul, the podcast, where I, Paul Abernathy, do my best to answer your pressing electrical questions that you submit through the online portal over at paulabernathy.com. It's a free service. You've got pressing electrical questions. Maybe somebody's told you something you disagree with and you want to get some answers on it, or you maybe had a discussion around the water cooler at work and you want to get clarity to something that was discussed. Do me a favor. Just go to paulabernathy.com and there put your name in, email address, and then put your information in there. Click that submit button and it'll come to me. And if selected, I will answer it on an upcoming podcast or via email back to you to try to answer that question. And hopefully I answer it. Again, remember, you can always follow up to any question that I do on the podcast by simply doing a follow-up question at the portal and just let me know this is a follow-up to, and please put the specific episode that this is following up to. And I'm more than happy to elaborate on subjects even deeper where necessary. So thanks for joining me. If you haven't listened to any of our podcasts before, we have literally hundreds of them out there. They're available on all of your popular listening platforms. Spreaker, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast is probably the most popular place. Google Podcasts, bunch of different places that you can listen. iHeartRadio, and some of the easiest things. Spotify tends to be one of the easiest locations to listen to our podcasts. So just search for Master the NEC podcast or Let's Ask Paul podcast, and you can get access to it. Now, if you have our mobile app that's available on our website at electricalcodeacademy.com, then you can listen to all the podcasts from the app as well and stream it to your Bluetooth devices or whatever you want. If you want to download our app directly from a website, then just simply go to www.necchat.com. That's NEC Chat. And you can get our app, and it kind of gets you connected with us. And you can, if you ever want to join our subscription program, for exclusive videos, then you can watch them right there on the mobile app if you want. And that's kind of a lot of the direction that we're going with a lot of the stuff that we do. So anyway, thanks for finding us and appreciate you spending some time with me today. So today's episode is sponsored by Electrical Code Academy Incorporated. Again, the one-stop shop for all of your electrical code related training, whether it's residential electrical codes, commercial, grounding and bonding, whatever. We have a program for you. Exam preparation, we have the Black program. All of that's available over on our website, which is, again, electricalcodeacademy.com.net or .org, whichever you want. You can get there. All right, so I'm going to answer a question today. Now, this question looks like it's a follow-up to a recent small, short YouTube video I did recently explaining about the bathtub and shower area. And luminaires and things like that. So again, this is more of a follow-up question, it looks like, but it gives me the opportunity to maybe paint you a mental picture because sometimes the videos are great, but sometimes I can get in your head if I'm talking about it and trying to do my best to describe it. And so we'll see how that goes. So the question goes, hey, Paul, loved your podcast on luminaires in shower and bath areas. I was wondering if you could elaborate even more. What if I have a small bathroom and one of my sconces or cabinet or counter lights happens to penetrate into that 3-foot zone? What would that be required by me? Okay, thanks in advance. Okay, a little broken there at the end, but I think what he's saying is explain 410.10d, and there's a D1 and there's a D2. Explain them a little bit and then try to answer some of those questions. And I also noticed that over on one of our forums, there was a person that asked a follow-up question. I think it might have been our Facebook page. We do have a Facebook page. Just search for Electrical Code Academy in the Facebook page. You can find that. Of course, if you go to our website, you'll see the social link buttons at the bottom. You can check us out there if you're interested. Okay, so first things first, we want to go to 410, and that is the article that says luminaires, lamp holders, and lamps. We're going to be focusing on luminaires, and so we're going to be looking at the luminaire locations, which is the part 2 of this article. which is titled Luminaire Locations. And then we're going to be looking at 410.10D, as in dog. It says bathtub and shower areas. Okay. All right. So that's what we got first and foremost. So now let's kind of come down and look at bathtub and shower areas. It says a luminaire installed in the bathtub or shower area shall meet all of the following requirements. So there's a D1 and there's a D2. So D1 speaks more to the type of luminaires that are not allowed to be in a specific zone. And this zone is all-encompassing, and we'll describe it. But anything that's installed in that zone that's prohibited in this D1 can't be in that zone. And we'll look at it. But then it's very, very specific, the type of luminaires that can't be in this zone. So let's read it. So we're talking about D1. If you have your code books, it says, no parts of cord-connected luminaires, chain, cable, or cord-suspended luminaires, track lighting, pendants, or ceiling-suspended paddle fans shall be located within a zone measured 3 feet horizontally and 8 feet vertically from the top of the bathtub rim or shower stall threshold. Okay, it says this zone is all encompassing and includes the space directly over the tub and shower stall. Okay, so if I have a bathtub and I'm going to be looking at it and I'm saying, okay, from the bathtub rim or shower stall threshold, it's the very top, the point where you step over it to get in your bathtub, by the way, okay? That's what threshold is. So I'm measuring out 3 feet. Okay, and I'm doing it horizontally, measuring out 3 feet from the edge of that threshold of that bathtub. And then I'm measuring up 8 feet. And then I'm measuring back over to the wall. So that whole zone there. And this also includes from the wall out to the edge of the bathtub and that 3 feet from the threshold. So it's kind of like creating this area where certain types of luminaires cannot go. So if they are any part of them, okay, any part of a cord-connected luminaire, a chain, a cable, or cord-suspended luminaire, any part of track lighting, any part of the pendant lighting, any part of a ceiling suspended paddle fan, any part of it, no parts, can go in that all-encompassing zone. So could I put a recess can in there? Yes, that's not in the list. Okay. Could I put a surface-mounted luminaire in there? Absolutely. It's not in the list. Now, we are going to talk about that zone, but the prohibited types of luminaires is very specific to D1. I mean, if you just read it, you'll see what can't go in there, or any part of those types of luminaires can't go in that specific zone. Again, 3 feet out, 8 feet up, you're creating this area that certain types of luminaires cannot go into, right? Okay. Now, outside of this area, it's fair game. So what do I mean by that? So what if I come out 3 feet from a bathtub, and I've got my horizontal 3 feet out, and I go up 8 feet, but I have a ceiling that's, say, 12-foot ceilings. Okay, you got a big bathroom. Then I could put any luminaire I want in that space above that 8 foot. Now, they could be track lighting, they could be a ceiling fan, they could be pendant, as long as no part of those luminaires come down into that 8 foot zone. 3 foot out, 8 foot up. You with me? So if you have really, really high ceilings and people look at it and say, why can I have a ceiling fan up there? Well, that's because it's probably outside of that 8 foot up from the threshold. Okay. So then the next part of that comes into play. They say, well, okay, what is D2 all about? Well, D1 is limiting the types of luminaires that can go in this all-encompassing zone. D2 is talking about the space specifically dedicated to the tub or the shower. Okay, that's the footprint, the outside dimensions of the footprint of the tub or shower. This does not include the 3 feet out from it. This is simply talking about the footprint, the outside dimensions of the bathtub or shower. all the way up to 8 feet vertically from the top of the bathtub rim or shower threshold. Okay, that's going to all be in it. Now, let's kind of look at it. I'll read it, then I'll explain it. Luminaires located within the actual, that's an important word, the actual dimensions of the bathtub or shower to a height of 8 feet vertically from the top of the bathtub rim or shower threshold shall be marked suitable for damp locations or marked suitable for wet locations. Okay, so if you have something that's a luminaire, for example, that is marked as a wet location, then it's perfectly okay for a damp. Okay, it's more restrictive. If you have something that's located as a damp, it's not going to qualify to be in a wet location. So that's important. So if you go with a wet, then you're going to have damp covered, right? Important kind of things to think about. Now, it also goes on to say, luminaires located where subject to shower spray shall be marked suitable for wet location. So if I have a bathtub and the bathtub does not have a shower on it, it's just a soaking tub. Now, the footprint of that tub up 8 feet is going to all be considered a damp location. So anything I might put on the wall around it or whatnot, maybe a sconce that's in there if you want, any of that, it's got to be rated for a damp location. Now, if there was a spray head in there and it was subject, okay, for me to have shower spray, then in that case, it changes it from a damp to a wet location. Now, chances are this is a soaking tub. There is no shower there. There's a separate shower stall that's totally separate. Then it's really only a damp location, okay? And it goes up to 8 feet. Above that 8 feet, it is considered a dry location, okay? So kind of things to remember. Now, if I have a recessed light and I'm going up 8 feet, and because I'm, measuring from the top of my tub, the rim, okay, if it's an 8-foot ceilings, if you have 8-foot ceilings in your house, then it's probably already 1.5 feet from the floor up to the top of the tub. So you basically have lost that space, right? So you're taking the 8 and you're minusing it about 1.5 feet. That leaves you about 6.5 feet above the rim to the actual ceiling. Well, obviously, that's going to be within the 8 feet. And so, yes, I can have a recessed light up there, but in that case, it's got to be rated for a damp location. And so you'll probably have what's called a damp location rated trim on it, right? And it's going to take care of that for you, and you're good. Now, be careful with luminaires that might go in these locations that you use, because also manufacturers might also specify that if it's in a certain area, that it's got to have GFCI protection or not. So just be aware of that. And remember, instructions that come with any luminaire is part of the listing of that luminaire. So, here's what I recommend for all you electricians out there that are installing luminaires and ceiling fans and all. Take the instruction manuals, keep them, put them all together, put a paper clip on them or put a rubber band or whatever, and leave them on the counter for your customer. Or put them in the drawer on the counter, whatever, for the customer, because this is for them, okay? You can do what you want with them, but I always leave those documents for them. They can trash them if they want. But also remember that an inspector can ask to see any of that at any given time. Maybe they want to look and say, well, I think that should be on GFCI. And you're like, well, no, it doesn't. It's outside of the space. It's fine. Well, let me see what the manufacturer says. Well, then you want to be able to have that instructions for them, that type of thing. Okay? Just a recommendation. You do you, but that's there's no sense in trashing it. Just put it together and keep all of them and just give them to the customer, right? They can do what they want with them, but at least you've done it. But that's up to you. You do what you want. Okay, so as you can see, D1 and D2 are different. D1 is focusing on the types of luminaires that can go and what's prohibited in this certain space, this zone. It's all encompassing. And then, of course, D2 is saying, okay, well, I'm talking about the luminaires that are actually located within the footprint, the outside dimensions, the actual outside dimensions of the bathtub or shower. This does not include the 3 feet outside of the threshold. This is only within the footprint. Okay. All right. And that has to do with whether it has to be damp or wet location. That's what that is. Okay. All right. Now, with that, that kind of adds to this because that gives you specific instructions for bathtubs and shower areas. We also remember that there's a 410.10a that's specific to wet and damp locations. And I'll just read it for relevance here. It just reminds us that luminaires installed in a wet or damp location, and of course, 410.10d2 defines what we consider that is within that footprint of that tub or shower. So we kind of see how that works. It says, luminaires installed in wet or damp locations shall be installed such that water cannot enter or accumulate in wiring compartments, lamp holders, or other electrical parts. All luminaires installed in wet locations shall be marked suitable for wet locations. All luminaires installed in damp locations shall be marked suitable for wet locations or suitable for damp locations. Make sense? Having it rated for a wet is going to be more restrictive than damp, but having it rated for damp is not going to be adequate for a wet location, right? So you get your instructions for the specific areas for bathtubs and shower areas in 410.10d, but you get reminded in 410.10a that once you determine if it's wet or damp, then you have to make sure that the luminaire you choose actually has the markings for that, right? Okay. Anyway, that's kind of it. Hopefully that answered your question. That is kind of breaks down 410.10d for bathtub and shower areas. So hopefully that's made it a little simpler for you to understand it. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to follow up. I most certainly know I'm not the best educator in the world, so I do my best to try to give you the information as I can give it. And as I tell my haters out there, if you can do a better job, I look forward to hearing your podcast. But until then, I've done my best to try to explain it to you, and hopefully I've conveyed that message, given you a mental picture. Also, real quick, I'll remind you that if you haven't checked out our Tradies apps, please do it. If you're in a local business and you want to grow your business and retain your customer base, it doesn't matter if you have an app already. It doesn't matter if you have a website. Our apps are uniquely different. They are designed to target the giver's gain concept, and Tradies apps are very unique. We have videos on it over on our YouTube channel. Go check it out at youtube.com/master the NEC. Or if you're on YouTube, just do the @ symbol and do master the NEC, all one word, and our channel will come up. Check them out. It really will help your business. If you look at how cheap we're offering this program, and it's not a month to month, it's an annual. You can cancel it after that at any time. Look, it is outweigh any other type of local marketing you can do. It's going to require work on your part, but it will cause you to be successful in your area and retain customers and build alliances with other contractors of mutual interest. So again, check it out over at tradiesapps.com. That's Tradies, okay? TRADIESAPPS.com. Again, as it sounds, Tradies apps. And I think you'll see that it's really going to help your business. I really do. That's our whole goal. That's the whole reason that I got involved in that. And that's why we're really pushing that, because we think this is a way that we can help local businesses grow. And that's what it's all about. It's not about online. It's about growing your local business, trade related, service related. That's what we're all about. All right. Hopefully you got something out of that, folks. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. And catch you on the next episode of Let's Ask Paul.